Who's next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in front of me this morning is former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Yep, that's me.
And Charles, Governor Jelly Belly was on with Klingon Collins on CNN, touting the big guy's accomplishments, flacking for President Biden, damning him with faint praise, one might surmise, but nonetheless doing his duty.
Of course, up to President Biden to make this decision. But you personally, what do you think? Do you think he should stay as the nominee?
Well, look, he's been terrific for my state. Remember, he rescued us from, an insurrection and then from an economy that could have cratered and, of course, from a health crisis that killed too many people under Donald Trump. And then, he's done a lot to revive American manufacturing. And in my state, we've seen jobs and companies coming back to the United States and to Illinois. And of course, this is a president that stands up for women's rights and workers' rights. So, I think very highly of the president, and that's why I've supported him. Again, I think a healthy discussion is good, and there'll be a result of that, leading into the convention.
Are you still supporting him now, though?
Yeah, I think that, again, he's our nominee. And so unless he makes a different decision.
Oh, it leaves the door open there, healthy discussion to be had.
Oh, man.
And regarding that business environment, it's gangbusters here. The only thing we had to do was give the Chinese communists $500 million, and then they'll bring an EV battery plant here. That's, that manufacturing revitalization going on in Illinois under Governor Jelly Belly. It's really something to behold, to listen to these professional prevaricators who have their wits about them, as opposed to those who don't.
I don't think anybody who lives in Illinois believes those lies. That was just outright lying.
You mean like when he says, despite the fact we net lost 88,000 people, we're gaining people?
Right. That and this business renaissance that he was alluding to.
Yeah. The same week that we mentioned, Jelly Belly closed Jelly Belly because his voracious sweet tooth couldn't overcome his business environment, and John Deere laid off 500 people. The continuing divestment from Illinois of the big Fortune 100 Fortune 100 corporations that really, provided the base of employment, and particularly in the mid-size communities in and around, I shouldn't say in and around the state, the Bloomingtons and the Decaturs and the Quad Cities. Those footprints continue to shrink. That's not good news. But
Joe Biden rescued us. Can you believe that?
Rescued us from an insurrection and a health crisis, and saved lives. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Okay. Steve Moore is an economist. He's the author of Govzilla as well. He joins us now. Steve, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy 4th of July. By the way, I find it really interesting, did you see overnight that Biden for the first time is now below 50% probability in the betting markets of being the Democratic nominee? So that's a bad development for Republicans. As Trump as a Trump advisor, we want to run against Biden. But the interesting thing is that when you look at the three Democratic governors that would be considered as possible replacements for Trump at the top of the ticket, you've got Gavin Newsom of California, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, and Putzker of Illinois. I call him Putzker. You call him Jelly Belly. But what's ironic about this is those are probably three of the worst governors in America.
Mm-hmm.
And those are also the three states, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, Dan, those, because Illinois, but what's going on there better than I do, those are the three governors that had the most severe lockdowns of their economies during COVID, which we now know was a catastrophic mistake. But I guess, we should put those people in the White House.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of low cards in the hand that the Dems are trying to play right now. There's no question about it. But look, I mean, if Joe Biden can usher in this renaissance in Illinois that Jelly Belly is talking about, then I mean, of course, he still has the chops to do it for the nation. I wanted to get your reaction though to a serious matter, a seriously productive development. And that, of course, is ending the doctrine of Chevron deference and the lawmaking by the administrative state, and you know the implications that you see from that Supreme Court decision.
Well, this only came about 40 years too late, Dan?
Right. Yeah. Right.
This should have happened a long, long, long time ago. By the way, I'm so sick of people using the term administrative state. I call it the regulatory octopus. Okay. One of the reasons we lose debates is we come up with these crazy terms. But look, this is a good day to discuss this because tomorrow is 4th of July when we celebrate our country and the founding of our country and our Declaration of Independence, but also our Constitution. And as I read the Constitution, gentlemen, and correct me if I'm wrong, I read that there are 3 branches of government. Now, did I misread that?
Yes, I think you have that right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because functionally, for the last 50 years, we've had 4 branches of government. We've had the legislative branch, which makes the laws, the executive branch, which carries out the laws, and the judiciary, the judicial branch, which interprets the laws. Well, what's happened, folks, over the last 40, 50 years is that we've created this 4th branch of government, which is essentially regulatory agencies. I'm talking about the FDA and the FTC and the CFTC and blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's 25 or 30 of these agencies. They act as judge, jury, and executioner in terms of passing laws, which, by the way, that's what Congress is supposed to do. And what the court finally declared is, wait a minute, you can't pass laws in the executive branch. You have to these laws have to be approved by Congress. Now, by the way, shame on Congress, Dan, for delegating all this authority to the regulatory agencies. And I knew this was a great decision when I read the New York Times the next day. Oh my God, they're going to shut down the EPA. They're going to shut down the FTC. We're going to have dirty air and dirty water and unsafe workplaces, and we're going to have financial scandals. Come on. I mean, I've never seen them blow a gadget like they did. So bravo to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, right. The argument, of course, coming from the D.C. press corps dutifully is that, right. You have government. These agencies, Steve, are run by experts. They're experts at these agencies, and we should. Very smart people. Yeah, we should. We should defer to the experts, just like we did during COVID.
Exactly. No, that's well put, Dan. And look, the thing is, let's talk about like the Clean Air Act. Okay, fine. We all want clean air, and if these laws are so vitally important to our environment, shouldn't Congress pass them? I mean, shouldn't they be approved by the people we've elected? And here's the other thing about these agencies that people I didn't even realize this until reading up on what's happening with these agencies. They also have. Did you know they have courts, Stan? They have what's called administrative courts.
Yeah.
And so if you're an aggrieved citizen and, the government's taking your property away from you or one of these regulatory agencies has caused you severe harm, and you go to the administrative court to have a decision on whether this is legal. You know how many times the plaintiffs actually succeed in these administrative courts?
Wow, right. They're so wired for the state. Yeah, right.
Like 2% of the time. Well, that's a kangaroo court. You're not going to win against these regulatory agencies, and it's a huge. Here's the thing: Casey Mulligan, who is, as you know, works with me at Unleash Prosperity, but is also at University of Chicago, one of the top economists. He estimates that just the increase in regulatory costs from Biden coming into office is now about $6,000 per household. If you look at the total cost of regulation per household, it's estimated at $25,000 or $30,000. That's a tax. That's a tax on every American.
Right, and this is before they regulate your the water level in your toilet and the water that you're allowed to use for your washing machine and your heater and your this and that. Right. I mean, all of this stuff is coming through the promulgation of rules by this. This hostile vice of a bureaucracy, and so one would hope. I'm sure there'll be ongoing litigation as the bureaucracy tries to, preserve itself. But one would hope this would actually usher in a significant uptick in innovation in American industry, because it's a little bit more unshackled.
There's no doubt about this. And, again, I want to go back to this point, though, that if these regulations are so important, why can't Congress vote on them? And again,
right.
The reason Congress doesn't want to vote on these is because Congress doesn't want to take any tough votes. That's the other thing. We don't have a functioning Congress, folks. What do, Dan? What you've got a government that's run now by executive order by presidents and edicts from regulatory agencies, and we don't even need a Congress anymore. Why do we even elect these people?
Hey, I wanted to get your reaction to some local news here. You may be that may have some interest to you as an Illinois native. The firefighters' pension fund in Chicago has assets to cover 21.6% of its liabilities. The police, 21.8%. Municipal employees, City of Chicago, 22%. Labor's pension funds.
22% of what?
22% assets to cover assets to liabilities. They have.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
21 fire, 21.6 fire, 21.8 police, 22.2 municipal, 38.5 laborers. What kind of those? What do those numbers portend, Steve?
Here's my advice: get on your horse and wagon and get out of town, folks. Because of course, who's going to pay for all that? Who's going to pay for that shortfall, Dan? Any resident of Illinois, it's like a massive unfunded liability. I've never heard it. Even New York and California don't have numbers that bad.
In the city's total unfunded pension debt, just the city, not the state, is $37 billion. So you can pay for it. Yeah. That's the other thing the pensioners may want to take notice of, or future pensioners of the police and fire department of Chicago. We're not going to be able to pay for it. So guess what? You're going to be paying for it too, in terms of a haircut.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Let's say you were somebody who was thinking about moving to Illinois. Not many people do, but let's say you were.
Yeah.
And when you go to a new place, you want to pay taxes for the government services you get. You want to pay for your schools and the ambulances and the fire and that kind of thing. Well, now if you move to Illinois, you're not paying for government services. You're paying for the government services that were provided 20 and 30 years ago. I mean, this is going to have a huge negative impact on the state. And I don't even know how do you even get out of this crisis? Well, one thing you do is stop having these defined benefit programs.
No, we can't do that.
You and I have been arguing for this for 20 years, and they still don't do it.
Yeah.
It should be pay as you go. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I'd share that with people. I mean, again, we've been
talking. I'm not going to be able to move back to Chicago.
Yeah, no. Not that Virginia is great or Maryland is great, but it's still not Illinois. Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Thanks as always, Steve. Appreciate it.
Happy 4th of July, guys. Have a great one.
You too. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560. The Answer.
For years, people have been switching their wireless service to Pure Talk to save money. I mean, $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and tons of data is a no-brainer. Over the last few weeks, Pure Talk has reported a surge of new customers signing up to help them support a charity near and dear